The text came through at 9:47 p.m., and I watched the letters arrange themselves on my screen with the detached interest of a man examining evidence in a trial he'd already won. I'm staying at Penelope's tonight. Don't worry. Don't worry. Those two words carried more weight than Rebecca could possibly imagine. I set my phone face down on my desk and returned to the documents spread before me. Bank statements, hotel receipts, time-stamped photographs. 3 months of careful collection, organized chronologically in manila folders. A lawyer's mind never sleeps, even when his marriage dies. I'd known about Ray for 16 weeks. Not suspected, known. The kind of knowing that comes from accidentally discovering a second phone hidden in a tampon box. The kind of certainty you get from running credit card charges through databases at the firm. Rebecca thought she was clever, using cash for most of their encounters. She didn't realize that ATM withdrawals tell their own story, especially when they're made 3 blocks from the same boutique hotel, always on Thursday afternoons. Thursday. The day I supposedly worked late. The first time I found proof was a Tuesday in July. Rebecca had left her designer purse on the kitchen counter, rushing out to meet a client. Her main phone rang, mine, the one I knew about, and I glanced at it out of habit. Then I heard another buzz, muffled, coming from inside the purse, a different tone. I'd stopped moving, coffee cup halfway to my lips, listening to that foreign sound coming from my wife's bag. I shouldn't have looked. That's what people say, isn't it? Privacy matters, trust matters. But I'm a lawyer. I deal in evidence and proof, and that sound was an anomaly that demanded investigation. The second phone was small, cheap, a prepaid model you could buy at any convenience store. The last message was still on the screen. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Usual place. The sender was listed as R. I'd stood in that kitchen for 5 full minutes, holding this plastic rectangle of betrayal, my mind already working through implications and timelines. Then I'd photographed it with my own phone, returned it to her purse exactly as I'd found it, and gone to work. By lunch, I'd hired a private investigator. By the end of the week, I had Ray's full name, his employment history, his address, and photographs of him entering and leaving the Gramercy Hotel with my wife. Ray Patterson, 36 years old. Worked in pharmaceutical sales for a mid-tier company, drove a leased BMW, lived in a 1-bedroom in Murray Hill that cost more than he could comfortably afford based on his salary. The investigator's report painted a picture of a man who lived beyond his means, who valued appearance over substance, who dated a string of women with money or connections. Rebecca was just another conquest, a marketing executive with a lawyer husband, living in a nice apartment, wearing expensive clothes. She probably seemed like a prize to him. I stood and walked to the window of our apartment, looking down at the city lights bleeding into the October darkness. Somewhere out there, my wife was with him right now. Not at Penelope's house in Brooklyn, not at any place she'd claim tomorrow when I asked for details she'd fumble to provide. She was at the Gramercy Hotel, room 847, the same room they'd used for the past 9 weeks. The funny thing about betrayal is how it sharpens you. Cuts away the soft parts until what remains is pure calculation. I'd spent my career reading people, finding the flaws in their stories, the places where lies buckled under the weight of truth. Rebecca never stood a chance against someone who'd made a living out of dismantling deception. My phone buzzed again. Love you. 2 words that used to mean everything. Now they were just another lie in a relationship built on lies. I wondered if she'd ever actually loved me or if I'd always been just the stable option, the provider, the man who could give her the life she wanted while she looked for the excitement she craved. I picked up a pen and pulled my legal pad closer. The note needed to be perfect, direct enough to land the punch, vague enough to make her paranoid, specific enough that she'd know I knew. Penelope called you at 10:30 p.m. I hope the real address is worth losing this one. I read it twice, then a third time. The handwriting would matter. I used block letters, the kind that carry finality. No emotion, just fact. No accusations that could be argued away, no anger that could be dismissed as jealousy. Just a simple statement and a consequence. I'd leave it on the bathroom mirror where she'd see it first thing when she returned tomorrow morning. By then, I'd be gone. The overnight bag was already packed, hidden in my office closet. I'd withdrawn $15,000 in cash over the past month, never more than $800 at a time, to avoid triggering bank alerts. My important documents, passport, birth certificate, the deed to my grandmother's property in Vermont, sat in a safety deposit box at a bank Rebecca didn't know existed. I'd forwarded my mail to my law partner's address, canceled the joint credit cards, transferred my half of the savings to a new account. Every move calculated, every step planned. I'd learned from years of litigation that the side who controls the information controls the outcome. Rebecca thought she held all the cards because she was the one keeping secrets. She didn't understand that secrets only have power when they're still hidden. I walked to the bathroom and placed the note exactly center on the mirror, secured with a piece of transparent tape. The white paper stark against the glass. In the reflection, I saw a man I barely recognized anymore. Thinner, harder, with eyes that had learned to stop flinching. Rebecca had done that, turned me into this. I checked my watch, 11:34 p.m. She wouldn't be home until morning, probably around 8, smelling like expensive hotel soap and lies. I had time, plenty of time to disappear completely. The apartment held 3 years of marriage and 7 years of relationship before that. A decade of my life invested in a woman who'd decided I wasn't enough. The irony burned. I'd worked 60-hour weeks to afford this place, to give her the lifestyle she craved. The marketing executive salary she pulled looked impressive on paper until you calculated her spending rate. Designer handbags that cost $3,000, spa treatments twice a month, weekend trips with the girls that I now realized probably included Ray. I'd paid for most of it, proud to be a provider, blind to the fact I was bankrolling her affair. Not anymore. I moved through the apartment methodically, taking only what mattered. My grandmother's watch, the first edition Chandler novels I'd collected since law school, my laptop and external hard drive containing files she'd never want public, photographs from before Rebecca, college friends, my parents, my sister's wedding, nothing from our relationship. Those memories were contaminated now, every smile hiding calculation, every kiss tasting of betrayal. At 4:15 a.m., I stood in the doorway one final time. The note waited on the mirror like a headstone. I felt nothing looking at this place, this life we'd built on foundations of sand. Just cold, clear purpose. I closed the door silently and walked to my car. I spent the next 3 days at a furnished rental in Jersey City, across the river, close enough to commute to my firm, but far enough to be invisible. The place was small, impersonal, exactly what I needed. White walls, basic furniture, nothing that reminded me of the life I'd left behind. I'd paid 6 months' rent in advance, cash, under a corporate entity I'd established for exactly this purpose. Rebecca called 17 times the first day. I let everyone go to voicemail. Her messages evolved like the stages of grief compressed into hours, and I listened to each one with the analytical detachment of a prosecutor reviewing witness testimony. 8:47 a.m. Kit, what the hell? Call me back. Her voice sharp, annoyed, the tone she used when I'd forgotten to pick up dry cleaning or missed a dinner reservation. 10:23 a.m. This is insane. You can't just leave a cryptic note and disappear. I was at Penelope's. The first lie, delivered with conviction. I made a note of the timestamp. 1:15 p.m. Fine. You want to know the truth? I wasn't at Penelope's. I was at a work event I forgot to tell you about. Happy now? The second lie, contradicting the first. Her voice carried an edge of panic now. 5:42 p.m. Kit, please. We need to talk about this like adults. The negotiation phase, trying to regain control of the narrative. 10:38 p.m. I'm sorry. Whatever you think happened, you're wrong. Just come home so we can fix this. Desperation creeping in. The reality of consequences starting to sink in. I listened to each one with a legal pad, noting the contradictions, the shifting narratives, the places where her story fell apart. A work event she forgot to mention. Right. The kind of work event that required an overnight stay at a hotel that didn't host corporate functions. My partner, Marcus, knocked on my office door the second afternoon. He was 62, divorced twice, and had the battle-scarred wisdom of a man who'd learned expensive lessons about marriage and trust. You look like hell, he said, dropping into the chair across from my desk. Working through some things. Rebecca's been calling the main line. Says it's an emergency. He paused, studying me. Linda's fielding them, but she's getting persistent. It's not an emergency. Marcus studied me for a long moment. You finally figured it out. I looked up sharply. You knew? Suspected. Saw her at Nobu 3 months ago with some guy. Wasn't my business to say anything, and I wasn't sure. He leaned back in his chair. But the way you've been moving money around, restructuring your accounts, I put it together. How long have you known I was moving money? Kit, I've been practicing law for 35 years. You think I don't recognize asset protection when I see it? He smiled grimly. You've been preparing for this. Good. Too many men get caught flat-footed. I set down my pen. She's been having an affair for at least 4 months. Guy named Ray Patterson, pharmaceutical sales. You have proof? Documented. Photographed. Time-stamped. Bank records. Hotel receipts charged to his card. Everything admissible in court if it comes to that. Marcus nodded slowly. You planning to divorce her? Eventually. Right now, I'm letting her sit in the uncertainty. Let her understand what it feels like when your whole world shifts and you can't control it. Psychological warfare. Marcus stood. Just make sure you don't do anything that compromises your position legally. You're a lawyer. You know how fast sympathy can shift if you play this wrong. I'm not doing anything illegal, just disappearing, letting her face the consequences of her choices. He paused at the door. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. You deserved better. After he left, I returned to the documents spread across my desk. Not case files. My case. The evidence that would dismantle Rebecca's life as thoroughly as she'd dismantled mine. Day 4, Rebecca showed up at the firm. Linda buzzed me. Your wife is in the lobby, says she's not leaving until she sees you. I checked my watch. 3:30 p.m. Tell her I'm in depositions all afternoon. Offer to schedule an appointment for next week. She's not going to accept that. I know. Tell her anyway. 15 minutes later, Linda buzzed again. She's still here. She's crying now, making a scene. I stood and grabbed my jacket. I'm leaving through the back entrance. Tell her I already left for the day. Kit, Linda, please. I can't see her yet. I took the service elevator down to the parking garage and sat in my car for 10 minutes, hands on the steering wheel, breathing slowly. I couldn't face her. Not yet. Not when rage still simmered beneath the calculated calm I'd built. Seeing her would crack something, and I needed to stay in control. My phone rang. Rebecca. I declined the call. Another text. I know you're there. Marcus told me you were in the building. Marcus hadn't told her anything. She was guessing, trying to manipulate me into responding. Classic Rebecca. Create a lie. See if it generates the reaction she wants. I drove back to Jersey City and spent the evening reviewing the private investigator's final report. He'd closed the surveillance 2 weeks ago after I'd told him I had enough. The last entry was dated September 28th. Subject and target observed entering Gramercy Hotel 7:23 p.m., exited separately the following morning, 8:15 a.m., and 8:47 a.m., respectively. The same hotel, the same pattern, 16 weeks of Thursdays, with a few Tuesdays and Saturdays mixed in when I'd been out of town for depositions or court appearances. She'd been so careful, so methodical, just not careful enough. On day 7, everything changed. The text came at 11:22 a.m. I need to see you. It's important. Not about us. Something else. I stared at the message. The tone was different. Not angry, not pleading, matter of fact, almost businesslike. I didn't respond. An hour later, I'm pregnant. My coffee went cold in my hand. I read the message 3 times, my lawyer's brain immediately calculating timelines, possibilities, implications. Pregnant. The word sat like a stone in my chest. The phone rang. I answered. Kit. Her voice was small, scared, nothing like the confident woman I'd married. I saw your text. Can we meet, please? I need to talk to you face to face. When did you find out? This morning. I took 3 tests, all positive. She paused. Kit, I know things are messed up between us, but this changes everything. Does it? Silence on the other end. Then quietly, what do you mean? I mean, does it change everything? Or does it just add another complication to an already complicated situation? You think I'm lying? I think you've lied about a lot of things lately. So yes, I'm questioning everything you tell me. I'll send you a picture of the tests. I'll go to a doctor, get checked, whatever you need. I closed my eyes. Who's the father, Rebecca? The silence stretched so long I thought she'd hung up. You are, she finally said. Obviously you are. When was your last period? Kit, I don't remember exactly. Try. Late August, I think. The 24th or 25th. Why does it matter? I pulled up my calendar. August 24th was a Saturday. I'd been home. We'd had intimacy that weekend. Mechanical, obligatory intimacy that felt like going through motions. The last time we'd been intimate. But I'd also been on a business trip to Chicago from September 12th through the 18th. 7 days. More than enough time for her to spend with Ray without worrying about me walking in unexpectedly. 8 weeks then, I said. Roughly. I guess. Kit, can we please meet and talk about this? I'll think about it. That's not... I hung up. My hands were shaking. Pregnant. Of all the scenarios I'd planned for, this hadn't made the list. A child. Possibly my child. Possibly Ray's child. The uncertainty opened up beneath me like a chasm. I called the private investigator. I need you back on surveillance. Same subject, same target. I thought we were done. We're not, and I need everything. Phone records if you can get them legally. Any evidence of contact between them. Everything. This is going to cost. I don't care. I need to know if they're still in contact. 3 days later, I had my answer. The investigator's report landed on my desk at 4 p.m. on a Wednesday. I'd been expecting it, dreading it, needing it. The envelope sat unopened for 10 minutes while I finished reviewing a brief that suddenly seemed completely unimportant. Finally, I opened it. The first photograph showed Ray and Rebecca at a coffee shop in the West Village. The timestamp read October 15th, 11:30 a.m., 2 days after she'd told me about the pregnancy. They sat across from each other, and even in a still image, I could read the body language. Rebecca leaning forward, earnest, pleading. Ray leaning back, arms crossed, face hard. The second photograph was from the same meeting, 20 minutes later. Rebecca's face in her hands, Ray standing, putting on his jacket, leaving. The report was clinical. Subject met with target at Gray's Coffee, West 4th Street. Meeting lasted 37 minutes. Target appeared agitated, terminated meeting abruptly. Subject remained at location for additional 45 minutes. No further contact observed. There were more photographs. Rebecca alone on a bench in Washington Square Park, staring at nothing. Rebecca entering her office building, face blotchy from crying. Rebecca at a pharmacy, purchasing what the investigator had zoomed in to confirm: prenatal vitamins. The last page of the report was a transcript of a phone call. The investigator had a contact who could pull records when necessary, skirting the edge of legality in ways I preferred not to examine too closely. October 15th, 12:47 p.m. Rebecca's phone to Ray's phone. Duration, 3 minutes, 22 seconds. There was no audio, but the investigator had noted: subject made 3 additional attempts to contact target on 10:15. All calls declined or went to voicemail. No return calls observed. I sat back in my chair, piecing together the narrative. She'd told Ray about the pregnancy. He'd met her, listened, and walked away. Just left her sitting there with the consequences of their affair suddenly made concrete and undeniable. My phone buzzed. Rebecca. Please call me. I really need to talk to you. Another text, seconds later. Ray won't return my calls. I don't know what to do. So she was finally admitting it. Not directly, not with the words, I had an affair, but the truth leaking out in moments of desperation. She needed me now. Needed the stability she'd taken for granted, the husband she'd betrayed, because her lover had revealed himself to be exactly what I'd always suspected: a coward who wanted the pleasure without the consequences. I didn't respond. That evening, back in my Jersey City rental, I drafted a response. Not a text, a letter. Formal, documented, the kind of communication that could be entered into evidence if necessary. Rebecca. I received your messages regarding your pregnancy. I understand this is a difficult situation for you. However, I need to make several facts clear. You stated the approximate date of conception would be late August. I have reviewed my calendar for that period. I was present in New York from August 20th through August 30th. I traveled to Chicago for a deposition from September 12th through September 18th. I have documentation of my travel, including airline receipts, hotel records, and time-stamped work product that establishes my location during that week. I also have documentation that establishes you were not where you claim to be on multiple occasions during that same period. Given these facts, and given your recent admission that you've been in contact with Ray Patterson, I suggest you have a conversation with him about paternity. I will be happy to submit to a paternity test after the child is born, but until such time, I'm proceeding with the assumption that this child is not mine. I've retained counsel for the divorce proceedings. You'll be served with papers within the next 2 weeks. In the meantime, I suggest you make appropriate arrangements for your living situation and financial support. Kit. I read it 3 times, checking for any emotional language that could be used against me, any statement that wasn't backed by evidence. It was cold, brutal, and completely factual. Everything a legal document should be. I printed it, signed it, and sealed it in an envelope. The next morning, I had it delivered to her office by courier. Signature required, time-stamped, documented. Then I waited. The call came at 2:37 p.m. I was in a client meeting, phone on silent, but I saw her name flash across the screen 14 times in the span of an hour. When I finally checked my voicemail, her voice was raw with tears. Kit, please. You can't do this. You can't just decide the baby isn't yours because you're angry at me. We can do a paternity test now. There are tests that can be done during pregnancy. I'll do whatever you want. Please just talk to me. Delete. Next message. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But this baby is yours. I swear to God it's yours. Ray and we were careful. We always used protection. It has to be yours. The desperation in her voice might have moved me once. Now it just sounded like more lies, more manipulation. She wanted me to be the father because Ray had abandoned her, because she needed someone to blame, someone to force into responsibility. Delete. The third message was different, angry. You know what? Fine. You want to be a coward like Ray? You want to just walk away and pretend none of this is your problem? Go ahead. I'll raise this baby myself. I don't need either of you. But the fourth message, left an hour later, undermined her anger. I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. I'm scared, Kit. I'm really scared, and I don't know what to do. Please call me back. I saved that one. Evidence of her unstable emotional state, should it become relevant. Marcus found me in my office at 6 p.m., staring at my computer screen without seeing it. You look worse than last week, he said. Didn't think that was possible. She's pregnant. He sat down heavily. Ah, that complicates things. She says it's mine. The timing makes it possible. But she's also been sleeping with her boyfriend for 4 months. What are you going to do? I sent her a letter. Told her I want a paternity test after the birth. Told her I'm filing for divorce. Marcus was quiet for a moment. That's cold, Kit. Even by lawyer standards. She had an affair. She lied to me for months. She's still lying. Maybe. But if that's your kid, walking away now is going to haunt you. I'm not walking away. I'm protecting myself until I know the truth. There's a difference between protecting yourself and punishing her. I looked at him sharply. She punished me first. You're not wrong, but make sure you can live with whatever choices you make now. Once you take certain steps, you can't take them back. After he left, I sat in the dark office, city lights painting shadows across the walls. Marcus was right. I knew he was right. But the anger, the betrayal, the humiliation, it all demanded satisfaction. Demanded that Rebecca feel a fraction of what I'd felt, finding that hidden phone, reading those messages, understanding that the woman I'd loved had decided I wasn't enough. My phone rang. Not Rebecca this time. An unknown number. I answered. Kit speaking. Is this Kit? A man's voice, uncertain. Who's asking? My name is Ray Patterson. I think we need to talk. I felt every muscle in my body tense. I don't think we have anything to discuss. Please, just 5 minutes. I'm calling because Rebecca is telling people the baby is mine, and I need you to understand that's not possible. Not possible? I laughed, and it came out harsh. You've been sleeping with my wife for 4 months, and you're telling me it's not possible? We used protection. Every time. I'm not an idiot. You're sleeping with a married woman. That makes you exactly an idiot. Silence on the line. Then, look, I know you hate me. I get it. But she's trying to trap me into taking responsibility for something that's not mine. The timing doesn't work out. What timing? She told me she's 8 weeks pregnant. 8 weeks ago, she and I we'd stopped seeing each other for 2 weeks. We had a fight. She was mad that I wouldn't leave my girlfriend for her. I sat up straighter. Your girlfriend? Yeah. I've been seeing someone else. Someone with better prospects. Rebecca knew about her. It's part of why we fought. The pieces rearranged themselves in my mind. Rebecca hadn't been Ray's only option. She'd been one option among many, and not even his preferred option. The humiliation she must have felt, realizing she'd destroyed her marriage for a man who had a backup plan. So you're saying the baby is definitely mine? I said. I'm saying it's probably yours. The math doesn't work for it to be mine. And honestly, between you and me, I think she knows that. I think she's panicking because she realized she's pregnant with your kid right when you found out about the affair. Why are you telling me this? Because she's sending me threatening texts about child support and paternity tests, and I need this to stop. I need you to deal with your wife and keep me out of it. My wife, I repeated. She's about to be my ex-wife, and you want me to clean up your mess? It's your mess, too. You married her. I hung up. The phone rang again immediately. I declined the call. Ray called 3 more times before giving up. I sat in the dark office, understanding crystallizing with brutal clarity. Rebecca had gotten pregnant during our last weekend together in August. She'd continued her affair with Ray, possibly trying to make him jealous, possibly genuinely believing she could have both lives. Ray had pulled away, choosing another woman with better prospects. Rebecca had tried to double down, to force Ray into commitment by telling him about the pregnancy. And Ray, true to his character, had run. Now she was alone, pregnant, abandoned by her lover, abandoned by her husband, staring at consequences she'd never imagined when she'd sent that first flirtatious text to Ray Patterson. I should have felt satisfaction, some grim justice in watching her world collapse the way mine had. Instead, I just felt tired, exhausted by the whole ugly mess. My phone buzzed, a text from an unfamiliar number. I opened it. A photograph of a pregnancy test. 3 tests, actually, all showing positive results. Below the image, "I'm desperate. Please just talk to me. The baby is due June 3rd, 8 weeks from late August. Please, Kit, I made a mistake, I know I did. But this baby is innocent. Please don't punish our child for what I did." Our child. The words sat like a weight on my chest. I looked at the date on the pregnancy test, October 18th. Today. She'd taken new tests, photographed them, sent them to me as proof of something I'd never doubted. She was pregnant. That had never been the question. The question was what I was going to do about it. Saturday morning, I drove to a diner in Hoboken, neutral territory, and texted Rebecca the address. She arrived 20 minutes later, looking like she'd aged 5 years in 3 weeks. Dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, wearing sweatpants and an oversized sweater. The careful polish she usually maintained had cracked completely. She slid into the booth across from me, not meeting my eyes. "Thank you for agreeing to meet," she said quietly. I didn't respond, just waited. She folded her hands on the table. "I don't know where to start." "Start with the truth, all of it. No more lies." She nodded, eyes filling with tears. "I met Ray at a conference in March. He was charming, funny, made me feel exciting. You and we'd been going through the motions for months. You worked all the time, I felt invisible, and Ray made me feel seen. So you started sleeping with him. Not right away. We texted for a few weeks, flirted. Then in May we met for drinks, and it just happened." "It didn't just happen, Rebecca. You made choices, multiple choices. Every lie you told, every hotel room you booked, every time you deleted messages, those were all choices." She wiped her eyes. "I know. You're right. I justified it by telling myself our marriage was already over, that you didn't care about me anymore. Did you ever consider talking to me? Actually communicating instead of just finding someone else? Would you have listened? You were always at the office, always preparing for trial, always too tired to have real conversations." I felt anger flare. "Don't you dare put this on me. I worked hard to give us a good life. You benefited from every hour I billed. That doesn't excuse what you did." "I'm not making excuses." Her voice cracked. "I'm trying to explain. I was lonely and stupid and selfish. Ray made me feel wanted, and I convinced myself that was enough reason. And the pregnancy?" She looked down. "I realized I was late in mid-October. Took a test. Positive. I immediately knew it had to be yours because Ray and I always used condoms. Always. He was paranoid about getting someone pregnant. Except you told him it might be his anyway." Her head snapped up. "How did you—" "He called me. Told me you've been harassing him. Told me the timeline doesn't match up for him to be the father." She covered her face with her hands. I panicked. When I told him I was pregnant, he immediately accused me of trying to trap him. Said he had another girlfriend, someone better. Just walked away like I was nothing. I got angry and told him maybe it was his baby just to scare him, but I knew it wasn't. I've known all along. But you let me think it might be his. Let me wonder if I was raising another man's child. Because you'd already left me. You left that note and disappeared, and I had no way to reach you, no way to explain. I was terrified and alone. And yes, I thought maybe if you wondered if it was Ray's baby, you'd come back just to prove it wasn't. I know how that sounds. I know it was manipulative and wrong. But I was desperate. I studied her across the table. This broken, desperate woman who'd shared my bed for years, who'd promised to love me forever, who'd thrown it all away for excitement and validation from a man who never cared about her at all. The baby is mine, I said. It wasn't a question. Yes, I swear to you, Kit. On anything that matters, the baby is yours. I pulled an envelope from my jacket and slid it across the table. This is a consent form for prenatal paternity testing. We can do it as early as 9 weeks. You're at 8 weeks now. Sign it. She opened the envelope with shaking hands, read through the form. You're going to test anyway, even though I'm telling you the truth. You've lied about everything else. I'm not taking your word on this. She signed it without argument and pushed it back. What happens after the test? If the baby is mine, we proceed with the divorce but negotiate custody and support. If it's not mine, we proceed with the divorce. Period. And us? Is there any possibility? No. The word came out flat, final. Whatever we had is over, Rebecca. You ended it. This is just logistics now. She started crying in earnest then, quiet sobs that shook her shoulders. Other diners glanced over, uncomfortable with the display. I felt nothing watching her cry. No satisfaction, no sympathy, just empty. I loved you, she said through tears. I know I destroyed it, but I did love you. Past tense noted. I deserve that. She wiped her eyes again. Can I ask what you're going to do? With the baby, I mean, if it's yours? I'm going to be a father, present, involved, responsible. Everything I've always been, even when you didn't appreciate it. And me? You're going to be a mother. We'll figure out custody arrangements. You'll get child support based on my income and the custody split. We'll be civil for the child's sake, but that's all we'll be. She nodded slowly, accepting the verdict. I really am sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I need you to know. Your apology doesn't change what happened, doesn't undo the lies or the betrayal, it's just words. I know. We sat in silence for a moment. The waitress approached tentatively, and I waved her away. I should have been honest with you from the beginning, Rebecca said. If I was unhappy, if I felt neglected, I should have said something before I did something unforgivable. I should have given you a chance to fix things, or at least ended our marriage honestly before starting something with someone else. Yes, you should have. I don't expect you to forgive me. Good, because I won't. She stood, gathering her purse. I'll watch for the appointment for the paternity test, and I'll have my lawyer contact yours about the divorce. Rebecca, she paused, looking at me with red, swollen eyes. When did it stop being enough? Me, us, our life together. When did you decide you needed more? She thought about it for a long moment. I don't think there was a specific moment. It was gradual. Like we slowly became roommates instead of partners. And instead of fighting for us, I took the easy way out. I found someone who made me feel the way I remembered feeling with you at the beginning, and I pretended that was the same as actually fixing what was broken. Thank you for the honesty. Finally. She left the diner, and I watched through the window as she walked to her car, got in, and sat there for several minutes before driving away. I paid for coffee I hadn't drunk and drove back to Jersey City. The paternity test came back 3 weeks later. The envelope sat on my kitchen counter for an hour before I opened it. When I finally did, my hands were steady. The baby was mine. 99.997% probability of paternity. I called my lawyer and told him to expedite the divorce proceedings but include provisions for shared custody and appropriate child support. Then I called Rebecca. The test came back, I said when she answered. And? It's mine. You were telling the truth about that, at least. I heard her exhale, a sound of relief mixed with something else. Regret, maybe. Thank you for telling me right away. We need to work out the details. Custody, support, medical decisions. My lawyer will send over a proposal. Look it over, have your lawyer review it, and we'll negotiate from there. Kit, can I ask you something? What? Do you hate me? I considered the question. Hate required energy, passion, investment. What I felt was closer to indifference now, the cold aftermath of a fire that had burned itself out. No, I said finally. I don't hate you. I don't feel much of anything for you anymore. That's probably worse. Yeah, she said quietly. It probably is. I'll be a good father, Rebecca. Whatever else happened between us, this child deserves better than our mistakes. I know you will be. You've always been good at following through on your commitments, even when I wasn't. We hung up, and I sat in the small apartment, looking at the paternity test results, thinking about the life I'd built and the life that was coming. A child. My child. Born from a marriage that had died, carried by a woman I'd loved and now felt nothing for. The divorce papers were filed in December. Rebecca didn't contest anything. She signed where her lawyer told her to sign, agreed to the custody arrangement I'd proposed, alternating weeks once the child was old enough, split holidays, joint medical decisions. The child support calculation was straightforward based on New York guidelines. Everything was clean, professional, documented. We spoke only through lawyers and the occasional necessary text message about doctor's appointments and prenatal care. I attended 2 ultrasounds, sitting in the corner of the examination room while Rebecca lay on the table, both of us staring at the screen showing our child, not looking at each other. It's a girl, the technician said at the 20-week appointment. Would you like to know? Yes, I said. Rebecca just nodded, crying silently. A daughter. I was going to have a daughter. February brought ice storms and a darkness that matched my mood. The divorce was proceeding smoothly, which somehow felt wrong. There should have been more drama, more fighting, more acknowledgement of the destruction we'd caused. Instead, it was just paperwork and negotiation, a marriage dissolving with the same bureaucratic efficiency as closing a business deal. I'd moved from the Jersey City rental to a 2-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn, something more suitable for shared custody. The second bedroom was already set up as a nursery, crib, changing table, rocking chair. I'd painted the walls a soft yellow, neutral and calming. My sister had helped me shop for supplies, her own 2 children providing experience I lacked. You're going to be okay, she'd told me, folding tiny onesies into the dresser. Better than okay. You're going to be a great dad. How do you know? Because you always do what you say you'll do, always have. That's more than most kids get. Rebecca was due in early June. We'd settled into a routine of minimal necessary contact. She'd text me updates from doctor's appointments. I'd respond with brief acknowledgments. When we had to meet in person to discuss custody details or sign documents, we were unfailingly polite, like distant colleagues working on a project neither of us enjoyed. I hadn't seen Ray Patterson since all of this began, hadn't heard from him after that single phone call. He'd gotten what he wanted, absolution from responsibility, freedom from consequence. I wondered sometimes if he thought about Rebecca, about the affair that had detonated 2 lives, about how close he'd come to being trapped in the wreckage. Then March brought an unexpected visitor. I was working from home, reviewing discovery documents for a trial, when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Kit, this is Penelope, Rebecca's friend. I sat up straighter. Penelope. The name Rebecca had used for her alibi that final night, the name that had triggered everything. What can I do for you? I need to talk to you about Rebecca. Can we meet? I don't think that's appropriate. We're going through a divorce. I know. That's why I need to talk to you. Please, 1 coffee, 30 minutes. There are things you should know. Something in her voice made me agree. We met that afternoon at a cafe in Park Slope, far enough from both our neighborhoods to provide anonymity. Penelope was tall, professional, with sharp eyes that assessed me as I sat down. "Thank you for meeting me." "What's this about?" "Rebecca doesn't know I'm here. She'd be furious if she found out. But I can't watch what's happening without saying something." "What's happening?" She folded her hands around her coffee cup. "Rebecca is falling apart. She's depressed, barely functioning at work. She's terrified of being a single mother, terrified you're going to take the baby away from her." "I'm not taking the baby away. We have a custody agreement." "I know, but she's paranoid. Convinced you hate her so much you'll find a way to cut her out completely." "That's not true. Whatever happened between us, I'd never use our daughter as a weapon." Penelope studied me. "I believe you. But Rebecca is in a bad place mentally. She's seeing a therapist now, but it's not enough. She needs more support." "That's not my responsibility anymore. She made choices. She lives with them. I'm not asking you to fix her life. I'm asking you to maybe show a little compassion. Not for her sake, for your daughter's sake. Because if Rebecca completely breaks down before the baby is born, that affects your child." I sat back, frustrated. "What exactly do you want me to do?" "Talk to her. Not about the divorce or the affair. Just check in. Make sure she knows you're not trying to destroy her, that you genuinely want what's best for the baby." "Why are you doing this? You're her friend. You should hate me for leaving her pregnant." Penelope smiled grimly. "I'm her friend, which is why I know exactly what she did and how wrong it was. She told me about the affair in June. I told her to end it, to be honest with you, to fix her marriage before she destroyed it. She didn't listen, so no, I don't hate you. I hate that she put herself in this position. But she did, and now she's carrying your daughter, and that baby deserves parents who can at least be civil." I thought about it. About Rebecca crying in that diner, about the ultrasounds where she'd barely spoken, about the weight of carrying a child alone while watching your life collapse around you. "I'll think about it," I said finally. "Thank you. That's all I'm asking." After she left, I sat in the cafe for another hour, wrestling with the decision. Part of me, the part that was still angry, still hurt, wanted to maintain the cold distance I'd established. Rebecca had earned that distance through months of lies. But Penelope was right about one thing. Our daughter didn't deserve to be born into a war zone. That evening, I texted Rebecca. "How are you feeling? How's the baby?" The response came quickly, surprised. "Tired. Doctor says everything looks good, though. Baby's measuring right on track." "Good. Let me know if you need anything." A pause. Then, "Thank you. That means a lot." We didn't become friends, didn't rebuild trust or intimacy, but the hostility eased into something more manageable. We started having brief phone calls about the baby, discussing names and practical preparations. Rebecca seemed genuinely grateful for any small kindness, and I found it easier to separate my anger at her from my responsibility to our daughter. April brought warmer weather and a surprising encounter. I was leaving my gym in Manhattan when I literally walked into someone coming around the corner. We both stumbled back, apologizing, and I found myself face to face with Ray Patterson. Recognition flashed in his eyes, followed immediately by fear. "Kit! I wasn't—" "Relax," I said. "I'm not going to hit you." He straightened, trying to recover some dignity. "I heard Rebecca is keeping the baby." "She is. We are. So the test confirmed? It's mine. Not that it's any of your business." He nodded, looking uncomfortable. "Look, for what it's worth, I'm sorry. About everything. I never meant for things to get so complicated." "You never meant to get caught," I corrected. "There's a difference." "Fair enough." I should have walked away. Should have let him scurry off to whatever life he'd built with his girlfriend with better prospects. But something made me ask, "Do you regret it?" He thought about it. "Honestly, I regret the mess, the drama, the way it ended. But the affair itself? He shrugged. Rebecca knew what she was getting into. She was the one married. I was just living my life. The casual cruelty of it struck me. This man had helped destroy a marriage and felt nothing beyond mild inconvenience at the consequences. "You're a piece of work," I said. "Maybe. But at least I'm honest about what I am." Rebecca wanted to have it both ways, stable husband and exciting affair. That's on her, not me. He wasn't wrong. That was the most infuriating part. Rebecca had made the choice to cheat. She'd lied, deceived, risked everything for someone who'd never valued her the way she'd apparently valued him. "Stay away from her," I said, "and stay away from my daughter. Trust me, I have no interest in being anywhere near that situation." I watched him walk away, this man who'd briefly upended my entire life, and now felt nothing but mild annoyance at the inconvenience of it all. That night, I called Rebecca. "I ran into Ray today," I said. Silence. Then, "What did he say?" "Nothing important. Just confirmed what I already knew. He's a selfish coward who never cared about you." "I know that now." "Did you love him?" The question surprised both of us. I hadn't planned to ask it. "I thought I did," she said slowly. "I was in love with how he made me feel. Young, exciting, desired. But no, I didn't love him. Not really. I don't think I even knew him beyond the surface." "What about me? Did you love me?" "Yes." Her voice was firm. "I did love you, Kit. I still do, in a way. That's what makes this so horrible. I loved you, and I destroyed us anyway because I was selfish and bored and convinced myself I deserved more excitement. You did deserve more. We both did. But you went about it the wrong way. I know. If I could go back, you can't. Neither of us can. We just have to live with what happened and do better for our daughter. I'm going to be a good mother. I promise you that. I believe you. And I'm going to be a good father. That's all we can do now." After we hung up, I sat in the quiet apartment thinking about love and betrayal and the strange paths that lead us to where we end up. A year ago, I'd been married, ignorant, comfortable. Now I was divorced in everything but the final paperwork, preparing to be a single father, starting over at 35. But I wasn't destroyed. That was the surprising part. I'd thought betrayal would break me, would leave me bitter and damaged beyond repair. Instead, it had burned away the illusions, the false security, the belief that loving someone was enough to make them loyal. I was harder now, more careful, but also clearer about who I was and what I deserved.